She stood in the doorway of my kitchen with her arms crossed like a security guard. Sophie. My daughter-in-law. 34 years old. French tip nails. Perfect hair. A smile that never reached her eyes. She said, "Diane, this is my kitchen now. You do not cook in here. You do not rearrange my things. You do not hover. If you want tea, ask me, and I will decide if it fits my schedule." I stood there holding a wooden spoon I had used for 35 years. The same spoon that stirred soup for Ethan's fever nights. The same spoon that made gravy for holiday tables before Sophie ever learned my last name. I said nothing. She waited for a fight. She wanted tears. She wanted me to look small so she could feel large in a room she had decided to claim with posture alone. I set the spoon down on the counter. Softly. Like a person putting down a life without dropping it. Then I walked past her into the hall. My knees ached. My pride ached harder. But my mind stayed cold and clear, the way it used to when I reviewed foundation plans at 2 in the morning and found the crack no one else saw. My name is Diane Moreau. I am 70 years old. I am a widow. I am a retired architect and residential designer. And this is the story of how my daughter-in-law banned me from a kitchen I designed with my own hands, in a house I still own on paper, while she charged renovations to my credit cards and called it love. If you have ever been erased inside your own home by someone who married into your family, stay with me. This is a quiet revenge story. No violence. Only blueprints, a deed, receipts, and a housewarming party that did not go the way Sophie planned. Subscribe if family revenge stories keep you company at night. There will be more. Every day if I can manage it. For now, listen. Breathe. I need you with me from the first locked doorway to the last signed page. I need you to understand the house before you understand the insult. Without the house, the ban is only rudeness. With the house, the ban is theft wearing lipstick. 35 years ago, my husband Paul and I bought a sloping lot on Maple Ridge, just outside Portland. The soil was stubborn. The drainage needed respect. The view was worth every calculation. Paul taught high school history. I drew buildings for a living. We did not have endless money. We had patience, second-hand furniture, and a shared obsession with doing things correctly the first time. I designed every inch of that house. Lines, loads, and light. Load-bearing walls. A kitchen open to the garden without stealing winter heat. A deep pantry. A utility corridor behind the fridge. A window over the sink placed for morning light, not photographs. Electrical runs labeled. A beam schedule written like a promise to the future. Paul joked that I loved that house more than I loved him. I told him the house was how I loved him. Shelter is a language. Some people speak it with flowers. I spoke it with square footage that would not fail in a storm. We raised Ethan there. One son. Bright, soft-hearted, a little too eager to keep peace. Paul used to say Ethan would apologize to a door if he walked into it. I loved that softness. I also worried about it. Soft people attract hard hands if no one teaches them the difference between kindness and surrender. Paul died 8 years ago. Heart. Quick. Cruel in its efficiency. One ordinary Thursday he said he felt tired after grading papers. By evening the house knew a silence it had never practiced. I stayed because the walls still held his laugh in certain corners. The kitchen still held the scorch mark on the back of the range where he once tried to surprise me with pancakes and nearly burned the block down. I kept that mark on purpose. It was proof we lived. Grief tries to sand you smooth. I refused to be sanded out of my own details. For years it was just me and the house and Thursday calls from Ethan. He built a life in the city. Graphic work. Client pitches. A seriousness that arrived late but sincerely. I sent him soup in jars when he worked too hard. He sent me photos of sunsets that were really excuses to say he was thinking of me. I filled my days with garden beds, library board meetings, and the occasional consulting call. Walls are not moods. Walls are promises to gravity. Widows learn to stalk quiet. The dangerous hours are the lonely ones, when a charming voice can sound like rescue. 3 years ago, Ethan married Sophie. Sophie was polished, charming in rooms. She called me mom from the second date like she was auditioning for a role with a callback already scheduled. She brought flowers. She asked about my work with bright eyes. She said she had always wanted a mother-in-law who understood design. She touched fabric samples in stores and spoke about energy and flow as if houses were moods instead of structures. I believed her. Loneliness makes belief easy. Widows are often hungry for a daughter-shaped kindness. Sophie served that hunger on pretty plates. The wedding was lovely. I paid for more than I should have and less than Sophie implied I owed. I told myself generosity was my choice. Choice is only real when it can also be no. After the wedding, they rented a condo downtown for a year. Then Ethan lost a contract at his firm. Rent climbed. Sophie hated the condo's thin walls and cheap counters. She said the light was wrong. She said the kitchen made her feel poor. She said a woman cannot build a marriage on laminate. One Sunday, Ethan sat at my table and asked if they could move in temporarily. Just until they stabilized. He held his coffee with both hands like a boy again. Temporarily is a word people use when they plan to stay forever and hope you will not notice the calendar. I said yes. Of course I said yes. He was my son. The house had empty bedrooms. I still cooked too much food for one woman. I thought family under one roof could be a soft season after hard ones. I thought love scaled. Sophie hugged me and cried pretty tears. She said, "Diane, you are saving us. I will take such good care of your kitchen. You will not lift a finger." I should have heard the claim buried inside the gratitude. Your kitchen was already becoming my kitchen in her mouth, and the gift was already becoming a transfer. The first months were careful. Sophie reorganized the spice rack by color. She bought new dish towels with monograms that were not mine. She asked permission before hanging a mirror in the hall. She made Ethan breakfast and left a plate for me with a note that said, "Love you, Mom." I told myself she was nesting. Young wives nest. Widows adapt. That is the story kind people tell themselves to delay conflict. Then the questions changed temperature. Why is this pantry so deep? It looks dated. Why keep that old range when induction is cleaner? Why do you still have Paul's mug collection taking shelf space? Do you really need this much counter for just you? Just you. As if my life had become a guest appearance in my own floor plan. As if decades of labor condensed into a polite inconvenience. Ethan worked long hours. He came home tired and grateful for a hot plate and a quiet corner. Sophie learned to serve him peace and serve me pressure. She timed her complaints for when he was exhausted. She timed her sweetness for when he was watching. She began calling the kitchen hers in small ways that sound harmless until you stack them. My kitchen is a mess today, Diane. In my kitchen we do not leave crumbs. I prefer my kitchen free of clutter. Can you not start projects in my kitchen before noon? I corrected her once. Gently. At the table. With tea between us like a truce flag. I said, "It is our kitchen. Shared space. This is still my home." She smiled that thin smile. Of course, Mom. Shared. The word shared died the week she ordered new cabinets without asking me. I came home from a walk along the ridge path and found men measuring walls. White van in the drive. Tools on my floor. Sophie stood with a tablet, pointing like a project manager on a show she believed she was starring in. She said, "Surprise. I am modernizing. Ethan said you would love it. You deserve a kitchen that does not look like 1990. I looked at the men. I looked at the wall they planned to open. I felt something cold move under my ribs, the old sight instinct that knows when someone is about to cut a load path for aesthetics. That wall held a beam I had calculated myself. That wall was not decorative. That wall was structure. You do not open structure because a mood board told you open concept equals happiness." I said, "Sophie, stop. You cannot open that without checking the plans. There is a reason that wall exists." She laughed. "Plans? Diane, it is a kitchen, not a bridge. Designers online do this every day. Trust the process." I said, "I designed this house. There are reasons for every wall. Reasons that keep roofs honest." She tilted her head. Then she said the sentence that taught me who she was beneath the flowers. She said, "You designed it a long time ago. It is time someone younger updated your ideas. And since we live here now, this is my kitchen to improve." Ethan agrees. "Do not make a scene in front of the workers." The workers looked at their shoes. Working men know domestic weather when they feel it. Ethan arrived later and did what soft sons do. He split the difference until the difference split me. "Mom," he said, "Sophie is only trying to help. You have been alone a long time. Let her make it nice. You can still make coffee in the morning. She has taste. People say so." Coffee. As if my role had been reduced to a beverage and a blessing. I went upstairs without slamming anything. Slam is a language Sophie would have used against me later as instability. I opened the cedar chest in my room. Under winter sweaters and Paul's old wool scarf, I kept a flat portfolio of original drawings. Vellum sheets. Pencil notes in my younger hand. Revision stamps. Structural notes. The kitchen plan with the utility corridor marked in red. The beam schedule. The load paths. Little arrows I had drawn for the electrician in 1991. I touched the paper the way some women touch rosaries. In the margin I had written, "Keep the morning window." Anger is useful when it cools into plan. Hot anger breaks tools. Cool anger chooses them. I did not take the portfolio downstairs that night. I only needed to know it still existed. Sophie could rename rooms with her mouth. Paper still told the truth. The renovations continued like weather you did not order. Dust lived in every corner for weeks. Sophie ordered samples the way some people order dessert, casually and often. She told the contractor I was hard of hearing if I asked technical questions from the stairs. I kept a daily log anyway. Day, time, what changed, who said what. Architects keep field notes. This was a field note on a different kind of site failure. Sophie charged materials to a card she had access to. My card. The one I had added her to for emergencies when they first moved in, because she said her card had a low limit and the car needed tires once. Emergencies, in her language, included marble samples, specialty hardware, a designer faucet that cost more than my first car, custom pulls, a catering consultation for a party that had not been announced yet, and a styling session with a woman who charged by the hour to place bowls that would never hold soup. I saw the statements arrive. I said nothing at first with my mouth. I said everything with my camera roll. I photographed every line. Date. Merchant. Amount. I created a folder on a private drive locked with a password Paul would have teased me for. I am old, not stupid. Architects live by documentation. So do women who are being robbed politely by family. Sophie banned me from the kitchen 3 weeks after the cabinets arrived, white and glossy and proud of themselves. It happened on a Tuesday morning. Rain on the ridge. I came down in my robe to make oatmeal the way I always had, cinnamon and a little salt, the way Paul liked even when he pretended he did not. She blocked the doorway. Barefoot. Crossed arms. The security guard posed again. "Diane," she said, "we need boundaries. My new kitchen is not a communal free-for-all. You track flour everywhere. You rearrange my systems. From now on, this room is mine. You can use the little bar fridge in the mudroom for your snacks. If you want a real meal, I will plate something when I have time. This is healthier for everyone." Clear roles. Clear energy. I stared at her. The mudroom. The bar fridge. Like a boarder in the house I paid taxes on. I said, "This is still my home. You are a guest who stayed." She said, "Living here is a gift we give each other. Respect is part of the gift. Do not make this ugly in front of Ethan. He hates conflict. You of all people should protect his peace." Ethan was already at work. She knew that. Cowards schedule their speeches carefully. They use your love for your child as a muzzle. I went to the mudroom. I opened the bar fridge. It held 2 yogurts and a bottle of water. I sat on the bench where we used to take off muddy boots after garden work and laughed once, quietly, because if I did not laugh I would shatter into something sharp. That night at dinner, Sophie served roasted chicken and talked about her vision board. She spoke about abundance. She spoke about claiming space as a woman. Ethan asked if I was okay because I had been quiet. I said I was fine. Fine is a door you close so you can work behind it. Fine is not agreement. Fine is strategy wearing manners. The humiliation did not stop at oatmeal. Humiliation rarely does. It expands to fill the available audience. She threw out my food and called it a cleanse. She invited a photographer and asked me not to ruin the aesthetic. She handed me takeout in the hall while Ethan ate in the kitchen. I wrote every incident down. Feelings are the alarm. Notes are the exhibit. Sophie started hosting dinner parties. Cheese boards. Louder guests. Ethan's co-workers. A real estate agent named Brooke who touched the new counters and said, "This kitchen alone would sell the house if you ever wanted to leverage equity." Leverage equity. In my dining room. Over my late husband's favorite wine glasses. As if my life were a listing draft. At the first big dinner, Sophie introduced me like a charming antique placed near the stairs for atmosphere. "This is Ethan's mother, Diane. She used to design houses. Is that not adorable?" She still tries to give advice about beams and load paths. We love her. She lives upstairs. She is part of the home story. Used to. Still tries. Lives upstairs. Part of the story, not the author. People laughed the polite laugh of guests who smell tension and pretend it is expensive wine. I smiled. I passed the bread. I answered questions about Paul with grace. I told a short story about the first winter in the house when the power failed and we cooked on a camp stove in this very kitchen. Sophie cut across me to say, "Mom mixes yours sometimes." Sweet, but fuzzy. Anyway, who wants dessert? Fuzzy. In front of strangers. About the house I could still draw from memory with my eyes closed. Inside, I filed every sentence. I filed Brooke's card when she pressed it into Sophie's hand and said, "Call me when you are ready to talk market timing." I filed Ethan's silence. Silence is also a choice. After the guests left, I washed a few glasses in the sink before Sophie noticed. Habit. Hospitality. Muscle memory of being a host in my own rooms. She appeared like a sensor triggered by unauthorized kindness. "Diane. Out. Please. You leave spots." My kitchen, my standards. Guests notice. Ethan said, "Mom, maybe rest." Sophie has a system. You have had a long night. A system. Built on my foundation. Funded partly by my card. Narrated as her genius. And my son calling my presence a long night. I went upstairs and opened the portfolio again. This time I laid the sheets on my bed under the lamp. I traced the kitchen outline with one finger. I whispered to Paul, "She thinks walls are opinions. She thinks my name is a rumor." Paul would have hated this. Paul also would have told me not to burn the house down with anger. Use the right tool, Diane. You always said that on site. Right tool. Right sequence. Right inspection. The right tool was not a scene. The right tool was proof. Abuse has layers. It is not one scream. It is 100 small cuts that teach you to apologize for bleeding. Sophie hid my good knives and said they were too dangerous for seniors. She moved my recipe box to the garage and called it decluttering. She told Ethan's friends I mixed dates. She scheduled a contractor to remove my morning light window because it disrupted her open concept. Creatively blocked by daylight. That is where we were. One afternoon I found her in my study measuring walls for a nursery mood board, though there was no baby yet. I asked her to leave. She said, "Everything in this house is family space now." Ownership is a feeling, Diane. Ownership is not a feeling. Ownership is a deed. That night I drove to my safe deposit box at the credit union. Rain again. Wipers loud. I had not opened the box in 2 years. Inside, under a thin stack of bonds and Paul's wedding band I could not wear without crying, lay the original recorded deed and title documents for Maple Ridge. Diane Moreau, sole owner after Paul's death, transferred cleanly through probate that Helen had guided with no drama. No transfer to Ethan. No life estate games. No cosign. Mine. I held the papers and felt my spine straighten one vertebra at a time. Paper has weight even when it is thin. I also held a set of reduced blueprint copies I had stored there after Paul died, because I am the kind of woman who believes important lines should live in more than one place. The full working set remained in my cedar chest. The legal chain lived in the box. Redundancy is not paranoia. Redundancy is professional. I made certified copies through my attorney the next week. Quietly. No announcement. No threat text. Wars announced early become messy and give the other side time to invent victimhood. I prefer clean lines and finished corners. My attorney's name is Helen Cho. 62. Precise. She has known me since I designed her office remodel in the 90s. She does not waste words. She does not flatter grief. She organizes it. Helen looked at the deed, the blueprint copies, the credit card statements, the photos of construction, the text messages where Sophie called the kitchen hers and told me to stay out, the dinner party comments I had written down the same night while memory was sharp. Helen said, "Diane, you have more than a story. You have a file. Files win when feelings only bruise." I said, "I want options that do not destroy my son if I can help it. But I will not be a ghost in my own house. I will not die upstairs while she photographs my counters." Helen said, "Then we document everything. We freeze what we can. We prepare notices. We wait for the moment when the truth has an audience. Some people only learn in public what they refuse to learn in private. That is not cruelty. That is pedagogy for the willfully blind." I hated that it might need an audience. I accepted that Sophie performed for audiences. She built her power on witnesses. So the correction would also need witnesses. Not for shameless sport. For accuracy that could not be rewritten later in a group chat. So I began the silent plan. Silent does not mean passive. Silent means the work happens before the speech. I treated the next weeks like a project with phases. Secure copies. Finish the money trail. Independent inspection. Demand package ready. Then choose the stage Sophie had already built for herself. I cancelled Sophie as an authorized user on the card. She found out when a charge declined and called it sabotage. I said, emergency access ends when emergencies become lifestyle. I showed Ethan one statement page. He went quiet. Quiet is not action, but it is not denial either. I changed my passwords. I moved blueprint scans to Helen. I left a sealed deed abstract with my neighbor Ruth. Paper outlives charm. Every unauthorized charge went into a spreadsheet. Every contractor name. Every lockout date. Screenshots of posts calling it her kitchen. I recorded conversations when she lectured me in my own rooms. Helen confirmed I could. I protected myself from a narrative that painted me unstable. I confirmed the title again at the county. Clean. I called insurance about unpermitted structural changes. I hired an independent inspector through Helen while Sophie was at a spa day. Compromised beam pocket. Improper header. Electrical beyond code. A beautiful white kitchen on a skeleton of arrogance. Helen said, taste is not an engineering stamp. I kept living upstairs. I kept eating yogurt from the mudroom fridge while Sophie posted sanctuary photos. Queen of the kitchen. Lucky mother-in-law. Public applause is not evidence of virtue. Ethan brought carnations once. Mom, just give her the kitchen. It makes her happy. You have the rest of the house. I said, you are rationing my home like wartime sugar. Sacrifice is not the same as erasure. Learn the difference. He left confused. Confusion is the beginning of seeing, if a person is brave enough. There were smaller days. She threw away my wooden spoon. She told a delivery driver I was the live-in grandma helper. She opened my mail by accident. That kept happening. I wrote the days down. Patterns condense more than single sparks. The party trigger arrived on a bright Saturday invitation that slid under my bedroom door like a summons dressed as charm. Sophie designed digital invites with a photo of the finished kitchen. White quartz. Brass fixtures. Her standing center frame with a champagne glass and a smile that claimed square footage. The caption read, housewarming for my new kitchen. Come celebrate the heart of our home. Maple Ridge never looked so alive. Our home. On paper that still said Diane Moreau in ink older than her marriage. She handed me a printed copy like a courtesy and a warning braided together. She said, you can come for the first hour if you want. Wear something nice. Please do not tell structural stories. People want joy, not lectures. And maybe stay near the living room so the kitchen photos stay clean. First hour. As if I were catering staff with a time card. Near the living room. As if my body were a smudge risk. I said, I would not miss it. She heard agreement. She did not hear strategy. People who underestimate quiet women often confuse volume with power. That night I called Helen. My voice was steady. Steadier than I expected. I said, she is throwing a housewarming for a kitchen she does not own, in a house she does not own, after charging improvements she did not have authority to make, and inviting people to admire the theft as taste. She wants witnesses for her coronation. I want witnesses for the correction. Helen said, then we attend with documents. Not drama. Delivery. Think of it as a closing, not a fight. We planned the sequence like a site visit with weather windows and contingency. I would arrive on time. Helen would arrive 20 minutes later with a slim portfolio. Deed abstract. Title confirmation. Blueprint excerpts with my signature block. Inspector summary. Credit card ledger of unauthorized charges totaling $27,462.19. Formal notice of demand. No police cars. No shouting for phone video. Paper karma. Cold and clean. I slept little the night before. I dreamed of Paul walking the foundation forms with a thermos, telling me the pour looked true. He turned and said, "Do not let anyone rename your work, Diane. Names are load-bearing too." I woke with my hand on the portfolio like a pulse. I practiced my first sentences out loud. Not a speech. A spine. My name. The house. The kitchen. The fact. Short sentences land. A good sentence is a beam. It holds. Sophie passed me that morning and said, "Try to be pleasant today." For Ethan. I said, "I will be accurate today." For everyone. Morning of the party, Sophie filled the house with flowers and rented glassware. She wore cream. She looked like a magazine page that had never been corrected by an editor who understood load paths. She played soft music. She set out little cards describing the inspiration behind each design choice, as if the house had been a blank field before her arrival. She told me to stay upstairs until guests arrived so I would not stress the flow. I stayed upstairs. I dressed in a simple navy dress Paul always liked. Pearls he gave me on our 20th anniversary. Low heels I could stand in for an hour without trembling. I looked like a woman who owned her name and intended to keep it. Downstairs, laughter rose. Music. The smell of catering Sophie charged partly to a card she should never have touched. I waited until the kitchen filled. Until Brooke the real estate agent arrived in a blazer that meant business even at a party. Until Ethan's boss stood near the island saying the renovation must have cost a fortune and Sophie laughed and said investments in the heart of a home always return. Until Sophie lifted her glass and tapped it with a spoon for attention she believed she deserved. "Friends," she said, "welcome to my kitchen. 3 months ago this room was stuck in the past. I took a tired house and gave it a future. Ethan and I are building our life here. This kitchen is the heart. To new beginnings. To claiming space. To family that supports vision." Applause. Phones up for the toast. Sophie glowing like a closing shot. I walked into the room on the last word of applause. Not rushed. Not small. The way you enter a site you already understand better than the loudest person present. Sophie saw me and her smile tightened at the edges. She said, "Mom, perfect timing. Everyone, you know Diane. Is she not elegant?" I said, "Yes. Diane Moreau. Owner of this house. Designer of the original structure you are standing in. And no, Sophie, this is not your kitchen. The room did that quiet thing rooms do when a script breaks. Glasses paused midair. Someone's laugh died mid-breath. Sophie laughed too high. She said, "Diane is joking. She has a dry sense of humor." "Mom, please, not today. We are celebrating." I said, "Today is exactly the day. You invited people to celebrate ownership you do not have. So we will celebrate facts instead. Facts travel better than hashtags." Helen Cho stepped in from the hall as arranged. Gray suit. Calm face. Portfolio in hand. She looked like Consequence wearing lipstick and good shoes. Sophie said, "Who is this?" "This is a private party." Helen said, "Helen Cho, counsel for Ms. Moreau. I am here at her request to deliver documentation and a formal demand. This will be brief. You may want to put the champagne down so your hands are free to read." Ethan's face went white in a way that hurt me and still needed to happen. He said, "Mom, what is happening?" can we do this later? I said, what should have happened the first time she locked me out of a room I designed and still own. Later is how I got here. Later ends now. Helen set the portfolio on the quartz island Sophie loved to caress for photos. She opened it with the respect you give a surgical tray. No flourish. No theater beyond precision. First, Helen said, the deed and title. Maple Ridge property, sole ownership Diane Moreau. No transfer to Ethan Moreau. No interest recorded to Sophie Moreau. Certified copies for anyone who needs to read slowly. Guests may look if Ms. Moreau permits. She does. She slid the pages forward. Brooke the agent leaned in despite herself, professional curiosity winning over social panic. Ethan's boss stepped back like debt was contagious, and he had just realized the buffet might be complicated. Second, Helen said, original architectural drawings prepared and stamped by Diane Moreau, designer of record for this residence. Including the kitchen plan, structural notes, and the beam altered without proper review. For context, the pretty open concept currently rests on work flagged by an independent inspector as deficient and potentially non-compliant. Summary report attached. Full report available through council. This is not a style dispute. This is structure and authority. Sophie snapped, this is insane. It is a family home. We live here. We improved it. She should be grateful. Old houses need young energy. I said, you improved it the way a vandal improves a museum with spray paint and a good filter. Energy does not replace a license or a deed. Someone in the back stifled a sound. Not a laugh. A shock leak. A woman I did not know whispered, oh my God, to no one and everyone. Third, Helen continued, unauthorized charges on Ms. Moreau's accounts related to this renovation and associated events. Itemized by date and merchant. Total $27,462.19. Demand for full reimbursement within 14 days, or we proceed to recovery, including but not limited to civil claim and credit action. Also, immediate cessation of further alterations. Written acknowledgement of receipt required today. Further, Ms. Moreau reserves all rights regarding occupancy, access, and the condition of the premises. Sophie turned on Ethan with a heat that made a few guests look away. Fix this. She is humiliating us. Do something. You are the husband. Say something. Ethan looked at me like a boy who finally heard the storm was real and not a story adults told to scare him into matters. Mom, why did you not talk to me? Why like this? I said, I talked. In the hallway. At the table. In the study doorway. You translated my words into keep Sophie happy. I am done being the volume she turns down so her playlist can play. Sophie stepped toward me. Clothes. Perfume sharp. Cream dress perfect. She hissed low, you will not ruin my party. Get out of my kitchen. Go upstairs where you belong. There it was. The sentence. The brand on the moment. My kitchen. Upstairs where you belong. In front of the very people she had used to shrink me for months. I did not raise my voice. Raising your voice is what people do when they lack paper. I had paper. Paper does not need volume. I said, Sophie, listen carefully. This kitchen is not yours. This house is not yours. The blueprints in that folder have my name in the title block from 35 years ago. The deed has my name from then until this second. You banned me from a room I conceived, detailed, and paid for across a lifetime. You charged my cards. You told strangers I was fuzzy and lucky. You tried to turn me into an upstairs inconvenience while you sold a fantasy downstairs. You called theft taste. Today taste meets title. I looked around the room. Faces. Phones half raised then lowered. Brooke pale. Ethan's boss studying the floorboards I had specified. I said, guests, enjoy the catering if you wish. Then please understand you were invited to a housewarming for property the host does not own. I am not asking you to take sides in a marriage. I am correcting a public lie spoken over my counters. You may leave without drama. Truth does not require your applause. My pulse was high. My voice was not. That difference is training. Brooke put her glass down. 2 couples followed. Ethan's boss went outside and did not come back. A young woman called it toxic and left without defining the word. Sophie started crying angry tears. She said I had ambushed her. She said mothers-in-law were jealous. She said Ethan would choose her. Ethan said, Sophie, stop. Just stop talking. Is it true about the card? Look at me. Is it true? Silence thick enough to stand on. Then Sophie said, everyone uses family cards for family projects. She wanted the kitchen nice. She benefited. We all did. This is twisted. I said, wanting is not a power of attorney. Benefit is not a blank endorsement. Nice is not a legal doctrine. Helen placed a final sheet on the island. Notice of demand. Acknowledgement line. Date line. Her pen beside it, uncapped. Helen said, sign that you received these documents. Signing is not confession. It is receipt. Refusal will be noted with witnesses present. Either path is usable. Receipt is cleaner. Sophie refused at first. Chin high. Then Brooke, still near the door with her keys in hand, said quietly, Sophie, just sign the receipt. This is already bad. Do not make it worse on paper. Sophie signed. Hand shaking. Ink a little smeared where a tear hit the page. Even her signature looked cornered. Helen closed the portfolio. She said, further communication through counsel. Ms. Moreau remains free to occupy and control her property. Any attempt to lock her out of common areas, dispose of her belongings, or continue unpermitted work will be treated accordingly. Have a clear evening. Then Helen looked at me. A small nod. Your move if you want to speak as his mother before I go. I did. Because law can clear a room, but only a mother can try to clear a son's fog. I told Ethan I loved him. I told him love is not a blank check for someone else's contempt. I told him he could stay in the house under new written terms drafted by Helen, fair and adult, or he could leave with Sophie and rebuild like people who do not steal dignity for decor. I told him the mudroom fridge arrangement was over as of that moment. I walked to the real refrigerator, opened it, and took out a carton of eggs that had been labeled Sophie only in her handwriting with a heart over the I. I said, these eggs are in my kitchen. I am making an omelet later. Anyone who has a problem with that can take it up with the deed. It was a small line. It landed like a gavel wrapped in linen. The party dissolved the way sugar dissolves in cold water. Slow, then gone. Chairs left at odd angles. A napkin on the floor. Sophie's inspiration cards looking suddenly silly. Sophie fled upstairs and slammed the guest room door hard enough to make a picture tilt. Ethan sat on a stool at the island with his head in his hands. Helen left after confirming I felt safe and after locking copies into her briefcase. I did feel safe. Safety, for me, had returned with paper and with the simple act of standing in the center of a room I had drawn when my hair was still dark. I stood alone in the kitchen after the last car pulled away. Afternoon light fell through the window Sophie had wanted to remove. The light still knew its angle. It always had. I placed my palm on the quartz and then on the older cabinet side that remained from my original run, where the contractor had butted new work against old like a bad splice that hoped paint would forgive it. I said, aloud, to Paul or to God or to the beam above me. I did not burn anything down. I just put the name back on the door. I used the right tool. Aftermath is quieter than confrontation, and in some ways harder. Applause ends. Work continues. People want the climax. Life gives you the cleanup. That first night I washed 2 glasses, locked the doors, and called Helen. She said, "Tomorrow we follow the calendar, not the adrenaline." I slept in pieces. At 3 in the morning I made tea in my kitchen and cried once, briefly, from release. There is a grief even in winning back what should never have been taken. Sophie packed for 3 days. She broke a glass on purpose on day 2 and left the shards near my bedroom threshold for me to find in bare feet. I swept them up and photographed them before the bin. Pattern. Always pattern. She sent me a long text about ageism and toxic mothers and how she had only tried to create beauty in a dark house. She used words like abuse and narcissist with the confidence of someone who learned them from videos, not mirrors. I did not answer. Helen answered for me with 1 sentence about ceasing contact except through counsel and 1 attachment restating the demand timeline. Ethan cried in the garage the second night. I found him sitting on an overturned bucket near Paul's old toolbox. He apologized in broken pieces. He said he thought giving Sophie the kitchen would buy peace. He said he was ashamed he had watched me shrink and called it compromise. Shame is useful if it changes behavior. Shame that only performs is another costume. I told him therapy would be a better gift to his marriage than my square footage. I told him he could love Sophie without sacrificing his mother on the altar of her brand. I told him I would always be his mother, and that being his mother did not require me to be her doormat with pearls. They moved out 6 weeks later into a rental across town. The leaving was not cinematic. It was boxes and silence and 1 argument about a lamp Sophie insisted was hers until Ethan found the receipt in my files. Small truths stack under large ones. On the last morning Sophie stood in the foyer with a suitcase and said I would die lonely in a big house. I said loneliness is not the same as peace, and peace is not the same as surrender, and she was welcome to confuse those words somewhere she actually leased. Ethan winced. Then he carried the suitcase out. Learning is ugly before it is beautiful. Sophie tried to spin the story online. A vague post about ungrateful family and energy vampires and choosing peace. A few friends liked it. 1 comment said, "So proud of you for leaving toxicity." Brooke did not comment. Ethan's boss never mentioned the party again, which is its own kind of professional comment. Silence after a public correction can be mercy or self-protection. Either way, it was quiet. Sophie repaid the card charges after Helen's second letter, through a payment plan that irritated her pride more than a lump sum would have. Pride is expensive when it meets interest and deadlines. Helen negotiated firm dates. Sophie met them late twice and on time after a 3rd letter. Paper teaches rhythm to people who ignored manners. I hired a proper contractor to correct the structural and electrical issues. Licensed. Insured. Permits posted in the window like a small flag of civilization. He shook his head at the beam pocket and said, "Whoever opened this liked magazines more than math." I said, "That is a fair assessment." We fixed what arrogance had loosened. I kept some of the new finishes. I am not petty about quartz. Quartz is stone. I am petty about lies. Lies are termites. The kitchen became mine again in practice, not only on paper. I cooked soup for neighbors who had heard rumors and needed the true shape of the story. I invited 2 widow friends for Sunday lunch and we ate under the morning light window with the garden in view. I put Paul's mug back on the open shelf. The scorch mark near the range stayed. Proof of life. Proof that a house is not a showroom. Proof that love can be clumsy and still sacred. Ethan visits on Thursdays now. He brings bread sometimes from a bakery Paul used to like. He does not bring Sophie. They are in counseling. I wish them honesty more than I wish them permanence. Permanence without honesty is just a long performance with shared bills. If they heal, I will not stand in the way. If they do not, I will not rent them my dignity again to paper over the cracks. One Thursday he asked if I hated her. I thought about it honestly, because he deserved better than a slogan. I said, hate is a hot tool. It burns the hand that holds it too long. I prefer cold tools. I prefer blueprints and deeds and the right to boil water in my own pot without asking a woman half my age for a permission slip. I do not need hate to keep my name. I need clarity. He almost smiled. Then he said, I should have stood up sooner. I heard you and still chose the easier quiet. I said, yes. You should have. You can stand up now by never again confusing peace with surrender. Peace that requires one person to disappear is not peace. It is occupation with better lighting. Winter came. I archived the blueprints digitally. I updated my will. Ethan remains my son. Love is not revoked by a hard season. Access without respect is. Helen helped me protect the house from the next ambitious guest. That is stewardship. Some nights I still hear Sophie saying my kitchen. I walk downstairs, touch the counter, and say, mine. As a fact. Start where you stand. Gather what you can. Do not let charm talk you out of evidence. Sophie never knew those blueprints existed until the party. She thought old women keep recipes and grudges. She did not know we also keep line waits, legal chains, and patience. She learned that doors open both ways when the owner decides the show is over. 2 months after they left, I woke early, made tea, cooked oatmeal with my wooden spoon, and ate at my table without asking permission. Triumph sounded like a kettle and a quiet house that knew my footsteps again. If you are still listening, thank you. Long stories need sturdy listeners. Attention is a kind of shelter too. Maybe you have a Sophie in your life. Maybe not a daughter-in-law. Maybe a relative who redecorates your boundaries and calls it help. Maybe a child who rations your rooms. Maybe someone who moves your things, rewrites your role, and smiles for photos while you shrink upstairs with a bar fridge and a practiced fine. Maybe you have been called fuzzy when you were precise. Lucky when you were being used. Difficult when you asked for your own name. Hear me. Document. Do not only feel. Feelings are the alarm. Feelings are not the exhibit. Save the messages. Save the statements. Know what your name is on. Quiet revenge is not cruelty. Quiet revenge is refusing to be edited out of your own life. I did not need to scream to take my kitchen back. I needed drawings, a deed, and a lawyer who knows paper is sharper than any monologue. Sophie wanted a housewarming. She received a homecoming. Mine. I tried private. Private became a mudroom. Private became fuzzy. When private hides harm, public facts are not betrayal. They are repair. My name is Diane Moreau. I am 70. I designed this house. I still own it. My daughter-in-law banned me from her kitchen. She did not know I held the blueprints, the title, and every charge she made in my name. If this family revenge story found you at the right hour, stay. Subscribe to True Revenge Stories for more family revenge stories every day. Quiet ones. Paper ones. Karma ones. Hidden family revenge. Betrayal stories. Mother-in-law revenge that is really self-respect. Comment and tell me. Would you have waited for the housewarming, or ended it the first day she blocked the doorway? I waited. Not because I was weak. Because I was building a file strong enough to hold a public lie. And when the moment came, I walked into my kitchen like a woman returning to a room she drew by hand, with her name on every line that mattered. That is the end of the insult. That is the beginning of the rest of my life in my own house. Thank you for listening. Take care of your name. Take care of your papers. Take care of the rooms that remember you. I will be here next time with another family revenge story, told soft and finished clean. Family secrets exposed by documents. Greedy hands meeting cold ink. Until then, I am going to make tea. In my kitchen. With my kettle. On my stove. And I will not ask permission. Not ever again.